I lift the lid or this plate off this bucket and I can't smell anything, it means that I'm not completely recovered from COVID. Yes, I'll get to that in a second. But what we have here in this bucket is comfrey, and I brought a bunch of comfrey home from the allotment a couple of weeks ago. And right after I recovered from COVID, I strung up the best of the leaves in my workshop. So they're drying out, and I'll be using those for salves and medicinal skincare. And you can find out more information on that on my website, lovelygreens.com. But I took what was left, so the stems and the gnarlier looking leaves, everything that remained, and I put it in this bucket and I covered it in water. I then put this plate on and then tucked it around the side of the house, and I've just left it. It's been over by the wormery. Now, comfrey is very high in potassium, and it's going to be really helpful throughout summer when you have plants like tomatoes and other types of plants that are setting fruit, so flowers and fruit, because potassium encourages fruit and flower formation. So I'm going to be using this comfrey feed if it works. I lost my sense of smell because of COVID, and if it doesn't smell like the bog of eternal stench, then I'll be a little bit worried. So let me take this plate off and have a little bit of a whiff. So far, I can't smell anything, and normally you would be able to be knocked over by the stench. Let me just get a little bit closer. This is dangerous. Oh yeah, I can smell it, but I have to be really, really close. I'd say that my sense of smell is about 75% there, maybe even 50, I don't know. Yeah, I'm kind of choking on it. It's working. Oh man, that stinks. Liquid feeds, so nettle feeds and comfrey feeds, seaweed feeds, manure, teas as well. These type of homemade fertilizers, they stink, but they work. And so I'm going to strain this out. I'm going to bottle it, and I've chosen some clear glass, so I know that it's not Pinot Grigio inside afterwards. And then I'm going to get my tomatoes fed, because they are starting to put on quite a few little fruits. There's lots of flowers on them, and I really want to encourage a lot more fruit. I've got a bucket here. I've got an old sieve, and I'm just going to strain the plant material out. There's a couple of rocks in there from what I remember as well. Oh, this stuff looks vile, absolutely vile. Ugh. But this is one of the perks of growing comfrey and using homemade feeds, is that they're free. You don't have to buy plant feeds from the shop, from the garden center. You can make your own. Oh, I can really smell it now. That's an encouraging thought. So with COVID, I didn't think that I would ever get it. I was a bit complacent, to be honest. We've been very protected here on the Isle of Man, but you know, life has to go on, and the borders were opened, and Josh and I, it was at that time we weren't vaccinated. We were a bit hesitant, to be fair, and we decided that we were going to get vaccinated because the rules were really going to be relaxed. And we had one jab, and then the next week Josh got COVID and he brought it home. And we both got sick, and it wasn't fun, but it wasn't nearly as bad as I know some other people have suffered. And we didn't have any breathing issues or anything like that, thank goodness. And it might have been that first shot of Moderna helped us. And we are scheduled to go in for our second vaccination next month. But yeah, it wasn't fun. I hope that you don't get COVID, or none of your loved ones get it either. Now that I have this comfrey feed strained, it's kind of bubbly down there. I wonder if it's fermenting. Maybe this is like Pinot Grigio for plants. I'm just gonna keep it in here. And then with this, I'm just going to dilute it 1 to 10 with water. It's not as dark as it could get. If you let it seep for longer, this stuff can get to like near black in color. Ugh. So this is a very light infusion of comfrey. It is really so nice to have this shed painted and able for me to sit in and shelter from the British weather, but there are things that I need to do in here. It's a bit chaotic back behind me. It's not organized at all. This as a potting bench is not going to work. It's just not very sturdy. And so I'm hoping to get a couple of pallets this week and build that potting bench for over there. And that'll be a surface for this to go on, and storage for pots and trays and modules to go underneath. But in the meantime, I'll make do. And I have a few seeds that I'm going to be sowing today. So first off, rockets, also known as arugula. Rocket shoots off like a rocket, really quick growing. We love it. There's some red salad bowl lettuce, which we have growing in the veggie pod right now. I have a tray of lettuce that I sowed a week ago in the greenhouse as well, and basically just trying to start off as many greens as possible for the autumn and then going into winter. There's also some Asian vegetables. So we've got kamasuna, Japanese spinach. I have a little sachet here of, I think it's bok choy. No, it's wong bok, Chinese cabbage. And then also spinach and beetroot, which I can sow here now. Spinach, it bolts, so it sends up a flower stalk around midsummer, the first day of summer. And so it's really not wise to sow seeds in, I guess, June, May-ish, but after the summer solstice, you can get going with that. And this is a variety called trombone, and it's bolt and mildew resistant, so this is going to be good. And beetroots. So oftentimes on the back, it'll say July is the last time to sow it. I can squeeze in some beetroots, a smaller size beetroot, if I sow it now. And if it doesn't bulk up, as I hope, then the greens are perfectly good for cooking and in salads. And I will be sowing all of these into modules. I use small trays and modules initially for most things, although I have sown some seeds in the allotment this week. And I want to take you on a little tour just to see what the allotment is looking like these days and what's growing. It's such a beautiful evening. The light is so soft. And I've been working all day to get the allotment in shape because I've not been spending much time working here recently. I had COVID. I was sick, and then I was recovering, and then I was tired. The raspberries are looking really good. There's bees pollinating them, loads and loads of green ones, the occasional red one. This one's almost ripe. They don't last long. As I walk past, I usually pick and eat them. The gooseberries are all finished with this bush, but over on the other side of the allotment there are some more, so we'll have a look at those in a sec. The strawberry bed, oh man, I've decided that I'm going to be taking out pretty much all of these plants and replacing them, because in my last garden tour video I shared with you that they're almost all now pine berries. And I'd like to have some lovely deep red juicy strawberries to preserve and to freeze and to just enjoy. The wildflower and kind of nature area is a bit wild over here and beautiful. I love wild. And I've removed some of the flag irises from the pond. I think when I first put the video up of planting it up, someone mentioned that flag irises are thugs and they're probably not a good idea for a small pond. Well, it's been, 6 years that I've had this pond, and this is the first time that I've had to remove them. I will remove some more, but I do quite like them. I will be keeping them. Lavender is blooming profusely all over the plot. I've been harvesting some of it, leaving a lot of it for the bees. They are loving it. You can see a couple just over here, buzzing around. Bumblebees for the most part. And then there's more lavender over here. And most of these plants I propagated from cuttings. I did buy a couple of plants to start off, and they're a good few years old now, maybe 5 or 6 years. The garlic that I took out of this bed is dried at home, and I've replanted this up with purple sprouting broccoli and Uncle Bert's purple kale at the bottom. And what I've had to do is tidy this bed. It was very weedy. I raked it, I applied some compost to it, and then I planted it up. And I've also put netting on to discourage cabbage white butterflies and rabbits from getting in and munching those succulent leaves. And I've seen plenty of cabbage white butterflies trying to get in there today. Now compost, let me show you what is going on with the compost right now. When it comes to making compost, the easy way is the way that I prefer to make it. This is compost that I started last year. And if you recall from a previous video, I had it heaped up quite high. Covered it, left it, and this is the final results. And it's rich and moist and dark. There's little bits in it, not too bothered by those. And any larger bits like this, I can take a handful and I'll just put it over into this year's bay. I'll get to that in a second. So with this, I am going to be taking some wheelbarrow loads down and just dressing it on top of my beds, and it will essentially keep the soil underneath really nice and moist and will hopefully keep weed seeds down. I can see a couple of sycamore seedlings in here from the trees above, but I'll try to pull those out if I see those seedlings appearing. But it looks really, really good, totally free. This is just garden waste. Over here is this year's compost bay, and I can see some sycamores have made their way in here too. This is a problem with my siding here. It's right above these big sycamore trees, and so I try to keep the tops covered, but seeds inevitably do make their way in here. This is pretty much everything from my allotment that can be composted. So we've got little sticks and twigs, we've got leaves, foliage, veg that's gone over. I've even brought up some things from home. You can see there's an avocado shell and some egg shells as well. And there's no real ceremony. I just put everything in here as I get it. I avoid putting seeds in here, so any kind of wild plant that has gone to seed, I don't put it in here. I take that away. And in fact, I've just seen that I've accidentally put this in here. So this is a beetroot that has started to bolt. And those seeds, they aren't looking too ripe, but they can ripen in here, so I'll just keep that out. What I'll do next is just keep filling this and filling it. And at the end, I will just keep it covered and leave it. And next year, it will look like this. Nobody's up here. It is just so lovely. Let's go have a look at the dahlias. I put this structure up for the dahlias to grow through, and it is keeping them upright, but the flowers are not coming through the holes. Instead, they're just being constrained. So I think that I'm going to have to cut these down a little bit, maybe reduce them by half. I grew onions and leeks from seed earlier on in the year. And for the first time, I have tried doing the Charles Dowding multi-sow of the onions. I got them a bit late, so others are starting to harvest theirs. Mine will take probably another month or so before I start digging them up. And the leeks, I've got 2 rows of leeks here too. These are the multi-sown ones as well. And the idea is that you keep the stems a lot thinner. They don't need as much space. And it's been really interesting. Although I don't think that I'll be growing my leeks like this again because I do like big leeks. I realized that when I saw these growing up. They'll be nice and tender and great for summer dishes, but I'll go back to my old method for next year. Plenty of beets in here still. I need to harvest them, pickle them. Earlier today, this area was planted up with a pink fir apple potato and some random garlic, and I dug those up. I'll be taking them home for dinner. And in their place, I've put a couple of cottagers kale and then top dressed it with compost. We will not be short of kale this winter, I guarantee you. And here are the gooseberries that I mentioned earlier. I'm gonna pick a couple right now just as a snack. All along the bottom boundary of my plot, I have thornless blackberries growing. And look, they're starting to ripen. They're so big and juicy. Let's see if we can find some more. A lot of them are still red or green. Oh, I spot a few more. Look at these. This is why not very many berries make it home because I pick them and then I eat them. The Taunton Dean kale. If all else fails with my other kale, this will keep us in plenty of greens through the winter. And I've not had it netted. I had it netted when it was quite young, but I've not had it netted since it was about 2 feet tall. And I'm not seeing very much damage. There's a little bit of damage here from something, probably caterpillars, but that's great. It means that I don't have to worry about it like I do with the other brassicas. That's a win. Each spring I begin with a fairly detailed garden plan, and each year I tend to throw that out the window halfway through spring. Case in point with this bed, which is my hodgepodge bed. Basically anything that I have that doesn't have someplace to go gets tucked in here. And I have some beans, I have some courgettes, calendula, the mashua root vegetable, which is over there on the trellis. Over here there's pumpkins, a yellow courgette, and then cucumbers. And I've just been so busy this year that I haven't put them on a trellis. I'm just letting them sprawl, and they seem to be doing okay. There's a big one right here. It's got, I guess, some scrapes on the bottom, but it is totally fine. Let's just twist this guy off. If I don't pick these courgettes, they are going to be massive the next time I come up. So I'm just going to twist it and get it off the plant. That's bordering on marrow, but not like this one. This one is quite big. Wow, what am I gonna do with this? Although the lavender over here is looking really good, the bees are all over it. The lavender that I have growing up in this bed is basically spent. So I spent some time today pruning the flowers down, shaping the lavender a bit, and that will encourage a second flush of flowers on these earlier blooming types. This is Edelweiss, a white lavender, and then over here we have Hidcote, which is a lovely deep blue color lavender. It's the earliest to flower, this one. And I have a video sharing how to grow and harvest and prune lavender. So head over there if you want to learn a little bit more. This is the allotment garden in early August. It's looking really good. It's producing food. It's producing flowers. I couldn't be happier with it. And next year we're going to be having both the allotment garden and the home garden, hopefully looking a bit like this too. The allotment is looking really good, and it's also extremely low maintenance. Now, granted, I spent an entire day tidying it up last week, but that was after a couple of weeks of pure and utter neglect. And the measures that I've taken with creating that garden, with the wood chip paths and with using mulch on top of the soil to reduce weeds and keep moisture in, plants are protected, the soil is protected, there are fewer weeds, and the perennials ensure that there's always a harvest. Even if I'm not up there putting in seeds, putting in plants, there's always going to be the berries, there's going to be the kale, there's going to be so much up there. A lot of the perennial flowers and herbs as well. These are all annuals though, pretty much. Annuals and biennials. So I've got the Japanese spinach, I have some ordinary spinach and some beetroot here. And I've just put the seeds in, 2 to 3 seeds each. I'm just gonna cover these up and pop these in the greenhouse, and that warmth and protection that they'll have in the greenhouse will mean that they'll germinate relatively quickly and I can keep an eye on them. And I have an entire video sharing how I sow seeds, why I put them into modules, and how it helps me to use fewer seeds to get more of a harvest. So if you want to go over and check that video out now, I recommend it. You can use it now, you can use it next year if you feel that you're finished with seed sowing, but definitely don't feel that, because there are still plenty of autumn vegetables that we can get in the soil and in the potting mix right now. I hope that you have enjoyed this video, this little update, and I will see you next week, hopefully with that DIY project on how to make a pallet potting bench. Bye for now.